Day 2, no hating.
Today, I'm grateful for being able to go to work with my
And we eat together.
Yay!
Pizza. This is the Maui Wowie.
This is the Maui
Going
Wowie.
back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie. That Maui Wowie.
It's actually just Hawaiian pizza with chashu.
Fusion. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and then the queen bee. Queen bee, pepperoni, hot honey, and ricotta. Period. Period.
对呀，
哎呀，你随便讲。
随便点。
Bongole. I was gonna complain about someone, but I'm grateful for this corn. This pasta.
Wait,
But I'm not sitting with them right now. I'm sitting with my other friends.
领龟你不是粗一点吗？我没想
没有，这就是比 spaghetti 粗啊。
对，领龟应该是很扁的那种比较粗的。
那是 fettuccine。
Fettuccine.
fettuccine。蛮好笑的。
人家是豹，它是猫。
谁的品牌啊？
Bergeron.
Oh, okay. They're going for the cat instead of the panther. I see. I see. Everybody's making the same shit. And I'm grateful that I don't have to buy it. And I'm grateful. Bye bye. And I'm grateful that that didn't go on my jacket. It only went on my hand.
所以四根的新的 line 叫这个 Ariel。
So, Boston is this like puffer jacket brand in China, mega brand.
Yeah.
And Kim Jones just appointed as their new creative director. And
Get that bag, honey.
And his salary is 200 million RMB a year.
200 million.
Divide by 5, 40 million. Divide 40 million?
Like 2亿, which is 200 billion. 200 million, right?
million 有5个零，6个零。啊 million 是4个零
6个零
，8个零。
That's crazy. Hello, angels, baddies, and bitches. It's 11 p.m., day 2 of 30 days of no hating. So this morning it was really hard to get out of bed. Shanghai is like cold now. There's like no autumn here. It's just summer and then a week of autumn / fall and then winter. I changed my doona, my duvet, to my thicker winter blanket. And this morning I was literally like, I don't want to get up. I need to put a jumper like next to my bed so I can get out of bed and put the jumper on. I made it to yoga. So I was having hateful thoughts about the cold this morning, but I gassed myself up. I was like, don't waste a class. You've already booked it. Get up, go to yoga. And I feel really great after going. I was really pushed in today's class, which is great. And I did some work today. My client was like, giving very vague feedback about some runway music that I was organizing. And I decided to not be a hater. Honestly, I always choose the path of least haterdom when it comes to like actual interactions with people. Like on the internet, it's actually very different. And I'm going to get to this point in a moment. But yeah, they were giving me very unhelpful feedback. But I just took it on the chin and was like, okay, whatever, I'll make adjustments and then let's just see. Because oftentimes when you're dealing with like making stuff, like creative industry work, I mean, I guess this is kind of similar for all industries, but when you're just working with people and you're trying to create something together or create something for them, everybody's language around something is different, you know? So if someone describes something as like tacky, what they think is tacky and what I think is tacky might be different. So the challenge is, how do you bridge this gap in understanding of like the same thing, you know? You might think this is alternative and contemporary. I might think that it's corny and weird, but we need to find a way to bridge this gap, right? So that's kind of like the challenge that I appreciate, that comes with commercial work sometimes, and working with music. Like, even if the music that I'm working on or working with is not that interesting to me, I find it interesting to be in these situations where you need to figure out how to bridge a communication gap and like satisfy each other's expectations and requirements and like ultimately make money, you know, for me personally. So, okay, so there's that. Um, Also, I feel like I noticed that a lot of people initiate conversation with a complaint. Okay. I'm living my life, enjoying my time, and people message me with like content or memes or like an anecdote about something that they're complaining about. And I end up participating in the complaining with them. Okay. And I'm not saying that I don't do this either, because we're only on day 2 of no hating. Okay. So maybe we're just off to a good start. It's just a good time for me. But yeah, I feel like I'm becoming more aware of the times where I'm sort of being baited into helping people process their own negative feelings or negative experience. And this isn't like they're a bad person. It's just I would prefer to not be spending too much of my time doing that, because now it's like on a very low level, because I've said no to like the really egregious examples of this behavior. I had this pattern of getting into friendships where I felt like this level of responsibility for that person's happiness because they were victimized in some way or would describe being victimized in some way, or felt like it was really difficult to deal with this or that, or I don't know. I just felt like, oh, I empathize with like the pain that you're in because I've been there before and I want to help you. There's a way out because I've done these things, and if you do these things too, like maybe it will help, and if we're friends then maybe it'll like rub off on you. And like they pursue this friendship with me that I get to a point and I'm like, our friendship is mostly based on negativity and me helping you process your negativity, or like you offloading some of your negativity onto me, and then I share the burden of your negativity. But when things are going well for me, like you can't share the positivity because you don't know how to allow positivity into your life. And if things go too positively for me and I'm not able to entertain negativity because these things aren't compatible, our friendship starts to deteriorate, you know, or like the way that we communicate no longer works. So I've been in friendships like that before, and it's like something that I really try to avoid and manage. But I think even just like a little bit of that now is like really, I don't know. I'm not like saying that I need to cut people off or anything, but I think if I manage the way that I respond, I can prevent going into a negative spiral. You know what I mean? Because I do think that as you become an adult, and if you want to live a life of like being hot and having fun, you just don't want to entertain negative thought patterns and negative thought spirals. This doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge and accept that negative things happen, that bad things happen, that immoral things happen, that the world is fucked up, but you don't, you taking on that as an emotional burden doesn't actually make those things go away, doesn't actually help those situations. So my philosophy is like, if I'm living my best life and I'm able to like radiate or contribute neutral to positive vibes, that is going to have a bigger impact on the world around me than me internalizing negative things that I had no direct part in. You know, like you don't have to like directly fix a problem that you're not involved in. You can actually make an impact in your day-to-day life by having a positive conversation with a person, you know, helping someone not go into a negative like thought spiral, not letting yourself go into negative thought spirals. Like that's my personal philosophy, okay? Because I see how fucked up the world is, and I could make content that's just me complaining all the time, but I really try to, you know, critically analyze and give people tools to help them like move forward, because you will be stuck in this paralyzing just like sadness and overwhelm for things that you can't control, and that's not good for you or the world actually, because like you're still part of society, and those things that are fucked up, like you should educate yourself about how those events come about and the dynamics that come about: fear, jealousy, um, a desire for power and dominance. Those are the common values of the parts of society that are fucked up: anger, competition in a toxic way. When you understand how those dynamics work, then you can also manage them when they show up on a micro level in your day-to-day life, rather than being consumed by them or being taken advantage of by anyone that's like seeking to exploit you. Okay, I don't know, we can discuss this at another time. So noticing that like when people message me to complain, because the whole like, if I want to complain about something, I have to list 2 things I'm grateful for. That's something that I would do with like people that I know, or like guy friends particularly, who would message me to complain about stuff, and I'd be like, you can only complain if you list 2 things you're grateful for, because I don't want to have a negative conversation right now. Like, I'm just living my life and you're hitting me up about some shit that you fucked up. That's not my problem. I didn't fuck up anything actually. So yeah, I'm just trying to become more aware. And also, I want to become more aware of when I might be talking just to complain, you know, to like my friends. I think it's like totally different on the internet, because you could just unfollow me if you didn't like it. And again, I try to provide like critical analysis. Like, if I'm going to talk shit about something, I want to understand like how we got there, what we learned from it. Like, it's not just to hate for hate's sake. I'm like, okay, I didn't like this, but what didn't I like about it? And if I was going to do it differently, what would I do differently? If I was going to learn from this, what would I learn? Not just like, oh, that's bad and like that person's bad, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to be happy. I just want to be hot and having fun. Cute, chaotic, and critical thinking. Okay, we need the critical thinking part. We can't just be talking for talking's sake, you know? And this is coming from someone who loves to just yappa, yappa, yappa. So yeah, like I went to an event as well tonight, and you know, you bump into people, blah blah blah, and then people make small talk with you, and they're like, oh, like, yeah, what are you up to, are you playing any gigs, blah blah blah. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be doing like Halloween, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh yeah, Halloween's just like so inconvenient, like I just can't really be bothered. And I'm like, okay, fine, like I can get you guest lists if you want to come, but like if you don't want to come or you don't celebrate Halloween, then don't. Like, oh, do you celebrate Halloween? Oh, are you gonna dress up? Yes, because I'm working on Halloween, so I'm gonna dress up. Like, I may as well make the most of it. I'm on Taobao every day. Like, you don't want to dress up, then don't. I don't know. Like, I don't want to. I was just like, okay, bye. Huh? I see parts of my old self in you, you know? And everyone's on their own journey. Some people are just okay with life being that way, you know? And some people don't want to do the work. I think I also had a conversation with a friend. Um, Something that we've been talking about recently is like connecting to your femininity. And I want to talk about this more in future content. I don't feel like super across like the literature on like feminine energy, etc. Because I haven't read or done that much like direct research on it, but I do believe in like feminine and masculine energy, but I don't believe in like feminine energy being used or co-opted, or the discourse of feminine energy being used in the discussion around like dating men, and like how to use your femininity, get into your feminine energy to like attract a man. Like, I think that is like a bunch of BS. And the way that people talk about feminine energy in those contexts is like not something that I necessarily agree with or support. But I do believe we live in a world of polarity, and things are like gendered, but gender constructs in society are not true to like the fact that there is a feminine and masculine aspect. There is a yin and a yang, right? But my girlfriends have been talking about connecting to the feminine and how can they feel more feminine, and like who do they know that is feminine and who's embodying like sexuality and femininity, blah blah blah. And it was like really difficult for us to like think of that many people. And I feel like we really do live in a risless society. I mean, I live in Shanghai and I work in the creative industry, and we know lots of like models and influencers, and I think that the more that I think about it, the more gender and sexuality is something that people are like trying to perform and communicate and commercialize, not embody. Okay. Like my philosophy around this is like femininity is something that you learn to embody within yourself. It's not something that you perform. It's not an aesthetic per se. Aesthetics can be part of it, but I think it's the final part of how you express and you embody femininity. So I want to talk about this more, but I always say like dancing and music, those are two of the most like important parts of the human experience and connection to self, to a group, to like something that goes beyond you, because like everything is vibes, you're vibrating. Music is vibrations, and the music that you listen to impacts the way that you feel, and the way that you move your body impacts the way that you feel, and the way that you understand yourself, and the way that you carry yourself. And I think that sometimes people think that like gender and femininity is something that you have to constantly be performing. But I think if you spend time dancing, connecting to yourself, even if it's like an hour, like a few times a week, or like 20 minutes a day or something, just like dancing to yourself, or like going for a hot girl walk or doing a meditation, it's like recharging your battery. It's not that you have to have your phone connected to a charger at all times. It's that you charge your phone and then your phone is ready to be used until the battery dies and you need to recharge it. And I think that's the same thing as like being a human. You need to have time to yourself to recharge, and that carries you through. You don't have to constantly be thinking about whether you're feminine enough. You just embody your femininity, and like each person's expression of that is going to be unique to them, the same way that each person's expression of their authentic self is going to be different to them. That's why I say that glowing up and leveling up, or like self-improvement and self-transformation, it's not about an aesthetic. You can't just adopt like a clean girl aesthetic and assume that okay, now all your problems are solved. Like maybe there are things you can take from the clean girl aesthetic or the clean girl lifestyle that's applicable to you, but it doesn't mean that you need to be that in order to be seen as like feminine or authentic. I don't know, because yeah, I really don't think that even for masculinity, a man doesn't have to be thinking about being masculine and asserting his masculinity all the time. If he has practices in place that allow him to connect to his body and, like build his strength, I think that's a really important part of masculinity. I think also for women too, it just works differently. Like I do pole dance, and like men might do like Mai Tai or something, or like Tough Mudder, or like rock climbing. I don't know. Whatever the thing that you, it's not even about like the thing that you do, it's just how you feel when you're doing it. Okay, like do you feel connected to your body? Do you feel locked in? Do you feel like a sense of flow? I think that is how you recharge as a human. And the society that we live in is constantly trying to divorce us from being able to do that, so that we feel like we're constantly depleted and we can be easily manipulated and triggered into buying things or following instructions or doubling down on a victim mindset or spiraling into a negative thought spiral. Like I just think having those self-care practices are so important. So in this conversation with my friend, we were talking about how to be more authentic and like the importance of being nonchalant, which I'm going to have a future video about. And I was saying like I'm just going to post whatever. Like in this day and age, we're beyond the point of like having to think too much, just do it and like learn as you go. That's like the privilege and the curse of this timeline that we're in now. And she was saying that, it's hard. Or I was saying, like, I give less fucks each day. If you listen to my podcast in 2022, I think, before I was turning 30, I was like, every day I just give less fucks. And I think by the time I'm 30, I'm just not going to give a fuck at all. But I'm 31, turning 32, and I still think there's less things I could care about. I'm still like, yeah, and I care even less than I did yesterday. And each day is just like better than the last, in terms of me just chipping away at this intrusive thought, or like the way that the world tries to force you to care about things that you have no control over and that you don't need to care about, like, are not your problem. And this friend's like a little bit older than me, and she was like, yeah, but that's really hard though, to like, not listen to what other people are saying, blah blah blah. And I was like, but that's also your responsibility. Like, there is no point at which the world shuts up. There is no point at which you're not going to receive feedback, at which people aren't going to be haters. That's something that I've talked about too. I got to a point where I was like, oh, it actually doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I do it well or if I do it badly, there's always going to be people talking shit. There's always going to be people with something to say. And I'm one of those people too, okay? The point is, am I enjoying it? If I don't enjoy it, then what's the point? Because at least if someone's hating on it and I enjoyed it, I'm just like, okay, whatever, that's your opinion. But if I hated it while I was doing it and someone hated on it, that's when you're like, well, you start getting defensive. But I don't really care, because I enjoy what I do. And when I don't enjoy what I do, I make sure that I'm getting something out of it in the end, so that I'm okay with not enjoying it while I'm doing it. Usually that requires material benefit, okay? Because the emotional part, it comes and goes. So you got to give me something at the end of this to make it worth it. Anyway, so I was like, you need to have self-care practices. I am basically like spiritually OCD. Like, I have so many things in place to maintain like a PMD, positive mental disposition: meditation, journaling, thought dumping, exercise, hot girl walks. Don't follow this type of content. Don't watch this type of content. Don't reply to these types of comments. Don't reply to these kinds of DMs. Follow this type of content, watch this type of content, read these kinds of books, talk to these kind of people, don't talk to these kinds of people, reply to this kind of person, don't reply to that kind of person, listen to this, don't listen. Like, I am so particular, and I think I could be even more particular, which is why I'm doing this challenge. I'm only on day 2. I'm already like, but yeah, you can't expect the world to shut up. It's always going to be okay. So you need to manage internally how you're going to respond to it and believe that you can actually change that, and I've done that over the course of my life and continue to do so. There were so many times where I could have just believed what I was being told by other people about how I should be, what I should be, what's right, what's wrong. And if I listened to any of those people, I wouldn't have achieved anything that I've done, because at every stage I was like wanting to do something that I hadn't seen done around me. Even if it existed somewhere else, I didn't see it. And I was just like, okay, I could wait for permission or I could just go for it. And going for it means that I'll be put in contact with people that actually get it. And that's how I've just lived my life, So those are the thoughts. I just made a playlist called Siren Songs. It's on Spotify because I'm really obsessed with Madison Beer's song, Yes Baby. Banger! It's kind of like Challenges theme song plus vocals. And yeah, talking to my girlfriends about feminine energy, how to embody feminine energy. I was like, what music are you guys listening to? And they told me some of the artists. I was like, none of that. Okay, that's not going to get you feeling yourself. Okay, that's going to get you feeling like you should text your ex, which we are not looking for this season. So yeah, I made that playlist. I discovered the song because I was watching clips of the recent Victoria's Secret show. And I think it's really great that they've diversified casting for the show. And as a millennial, like, I grew up watching the Victoria's Secret show on TV. In Australia, it was like on Channel 10 or whatever. It was like a event, to watch it. And toxic beauty standards aside, my thing with the beauty standard is like I was educated about the harmful effects of unrealistic beauty standards being disseminated in media. I was like 14 or 15 when I read The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf, and I still appreciate like beauty and like superficial things to a degree. And I also like understand like the work that goes into constructing these sorts of images and that goes into being a model. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to be a model or needs to look that way. You know, you appreciate the athleticism, especially for the previous generation or the OG generation of Victoria's Secret models, like the videos where they talk about their preparation for the show, their diet or like non-existent diet, the workouts that they do. That's not something that like regular people need to do, you know. So I never felt like I needed to look like a Victoria's Secret model every day. I just appreciated the like stamina and the dedication that it took to walk that kind of runway, right? And I feel like the OG runway was just more entertaining to watch, and you really felt like the aura of the models being communicated through the camera when you're watching it. And like the glitter catwalk, iconic. Like OG Victoria's Secret runway shows are like burnt into my consciousness. Like the shot of Rihanna walking down the runway to her own song, Baddie. That is like the type of content that you should watch if you're trying to connect to your femininity, you know, like watch that kind of video and imagine that in your head when you're walking down the street. But the new Victoria's Secret show, the models are slay, but the way that it's being shot, what's with the angle? It's like eye level. There's no flattering angles or lighting to be seen. Catwalk is like an LED screen or something. That's crazy. It's like walking on a screensaver. I don't know. But anyway, Madison Beer, yes, baby. Love that song. That was my critical analysis of Victoria's Secret. I'm not a hater, you know, because shout out to all the girls that walked. You slayed. But the production, it needs work. Okay. If I was going to do it, I would do it differently. I'm not doing it. So that's fine. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Yeah, let's see how we go tomorrow. Day 2, no hating, complete. Speak soon. Love ya.